This photo of two friends seemed innocent. Just two young men, smiling side by side, frozen in a moment from over a century ago. The kind of image you'd find tucked away in dusty albums, forgotten in the back of a drawer. But historians who studied this photograph saw something no one else noticed. A dark secret hidden in plain sight. Because this was no ordinary friendship. One of these men was already dead when the photo was taken. And the other, he never left. The photograph was taken in 1897 in a small rural town in Pennsylvania. Two boys, Thomas and Edward, standing close, arms around shoulders, smiling warmly at the camera. Thomas was the son of the local blacksmith. Edward was an apprentice carpenter. They'd grown up together, inseparable since childhood. But the summer before the photo was taken, Edward mysteriously disappeared. No explanation, no clues. Just vanished. Weeks later, Thomas insisted on sitting for the photograph with his friend's old jacket slung over his own shoulders. Neighbors said it was his way of holding on to Edward. The photo was discovered decades later in the ruins of Thomas's abandoned family home. What drew historians to study it wasn't just the story of disappearance. It was the hands. Look closely at the photo. Thomas's right hand rests casually on Edward's shoulder, but Edward's left hand, it's grasping Thomas's wrist too tightly. Not a friendly grip. A desperate hold. And if you look even closer, you'll notice something chilling. Thomas's wrist bears faint scars, thin, pale lines like fingers dug into the skin. Experts enhanced the image and saw something that made their blood run cold. There was no shadow where Edward's hand should cast one, no weight pressing down, as if the hand wasn't fully there. But more disturbing still was the way Thomas's fingers curved. Not naturally. They curled slightly inward, as if resisting something trying to pull him away. Local legends whispered of a curse, of one friend refusing to let go, of a bond so strong it tore through the veil between life and death. Thomas was never seen alive after the photograph was taken. His disappearance was sudden and unexplained. His home left abandoned for nearly 50 years. When explorers finally entered, they found his belongings scattered, a diary open on a table, and the photograph propped up against a cracked mirror. The diary told a story, one of grief, obsession, and the desperate need to hold on to the past. Thomas wrote of voices in the dark, of hands reaching from nowhere, of shadows moving just beyond sight, of Edward calling to him, but not from this world. The photo became an obsession for those who found it. Historians who studied it reported strange phenomena. Cold spots near the image, whispers echoing through empty rooms, faint scratches appearing on their own skin. One researcher described waking to find his hands clenched tightly in his sleep, fingers bent exactly like Thomas's. Another claimed the photo changed overnight. The grip on the wrist tightened, the scars grew more visible. Most refused to speak of it afterward, but some were drawn back, unable to stop looking, unable to stop holding on. The truth behind the photo is darker than anyone imagined. It's a story of friendship that defied death, of a bond so powerful it trapped two souls in a limbo between worlds. And the hands? They aren't just a grip, they are a prison, because some friendships don't end. They cling, they pull, and they never let go. The photograph stayed with me long after I left the archives. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the hands. That desperate grip, the way Edward's fingers curled around Thomas's wrist, not quite solid but impossibly firm. I began researching the town Willow Creek, a place that seemed swallowed by time. Newspaper archives revealed stories that were almost too strange to believe. In 1896, just months before the photograph was taken, Edward vanished without a trace. Search parties found no clues, no footprints, no signs of struggle. Only his jacket, folded neatly on a tree branch near the creek. Thomas was inconsolable. Neighbors said he spent nights by the water, calling Edward's name. Then came the whispers. They said Thomas wasn't alone. Some claimed they saw two shadows walking near the creek at night. One tall, one faint. One solid, one barely there. Then, the stories turned darker. One by one, townspeople who got too close to the story began to disappear. No bodies were found. No explanations. Just silence. The photograph was never found in Thomas's home until decades later. When it surfaced, strange phenomena began to follow. Those who studied the photo reported feeling watched, unseen fingers brushing against their skin, cold drafts in sealed rooms. At night, they heard whispering, words in an unknown tongue, or worse, the names of people they loved. I contacted several historians who worked on the photo. Most declined to talk. One man, Dr. Harper, agreed to meet. He told me of how his own hands began to twist painfully, how the scars Thomas bore appeared on his wrists. He said the photo was a gateway, a tether. Thomas didn't want to lose Edward, he said. But in holding on, he chained himself. The hands in the photo are not just frozen, they are alive, clinging, pulling, trapping anyone who looks too long. I began noticing changes in myself. My fingers sometimes felt numb. At night, I dreamed of Edward's pale hand reaching for me. The grip wasn't gentle. It was demanding. One evening, I stayed up staring at a high-resolution scan of the photo. The room grew colder. The edges of the image blurred. Then, faintly, I saw movement. The grip tightened. The scars deepened. The faces shifted. Thomas's smile fading into something hollow. I tried to look away, but my eyes were locked. The hands on the screen, my screen, began to move, slowly curling inward, mirroring my own fingers. And then, a whisper, not from the photo, from the darkness behind me. "Don't let go." The whisper haunted me long after that night. Don't let go. I couldn't. No matter how much I tried to look away, to close the file, to erase the image from my mind, the hands pulled me back. I was caught in a loop, trapped between curiosity and dread. The more I studied the photo, the more I uncovered. There were other images, scattered in forgotten archives, photographs of people with strange marks on their wrists, hands curled unnaturally, eyes hollow and distant, each tied to stories of disappearances, madness, and whispered curses. I realized the photo was a puzzle piece in a much larger, darker history. It wasn't just Thomas and Edward. It was a cycle, a ritual unspoken. Somewhere in the past, an ancient bond had been formed, one friend refusing to let go of another, no matter the cost. The bond reached beyond death, beyond the veil, and anyone who looked too long could be caught. One night, after weeks of sleepless obsession, I found myself in the local historical society's basement. Dusty boxes, faded letters, and old photographs filled the shelves. Among them, a diary, not Thomas's, someone else's. A man named Jacob, who lived in Willow Creek decades after the disappearances. His entries told of nightmares, of seeing figures in mirrors, of hearing whispers from empty rooms, and most chilling of all, of seeing his own hands twist and curl in ways he couldn't control. Jacob's last entry was smeared with ink, illegible except for one line: "They hold me now. Don't look too long." That night, as I left the basement, the power flickered. I glanced at a cracked mirror nearby. For a moment, my reflection didn't mimic me. It smiled, and its hand curled slightly, just like Thomas's in the photo. I returned home, shaken. I covered every mirror, every reflective surface. But still, I felt the pull, the grip, the cold pressure at my wrist. It was only a matter of time, until the hands in the photograph found me, and asked me to stay, forever. The days that followed were a nightmare I couldn't wake from. Every mirror I passed seemed to ripple, as if something just beneath the surface stirred. Reflections didn't quite match. My hands twitched involuntarily, fingers curling in the same unnatural way. I began to hear whispers, low and urgent, in empty rooms. Names. My name. One night, I woke to find my bedroom mirror fogged from the inside. Two pale handprints pressed flat against the glass, just like in the photograph. I touched the mirror, cold beyond anything I'd ever felt. The whispers grew louder. "Don't let go," they pleaded. I knew then, this wasn't just a story in an old photo. It was a curse, a trap, and it was coming for me. I reached out to a folklore expert, Dr. Ellen Graves. She had spent years researching curses tied to friendship and loss. Her warning was clear. Once you see the grip, once it pulls you in, it's nearly impossible to escape. She told me of legends where the living are trapped by the dead, held fast by bonds stronger than life itself. And the only way to break free was to let go. But letting go wasn't easy, especially when something invisible clings to your wrist, cold and demanding. As the nights grew darker, I felt my own strength waning. The scars on my wrist began to appear, thin, pale lines curling inward. I couldn't fight it anymore. I understood Thomas now. He had tried, and failed, because some bonds aren't meant to be broken. They bind, they consume, and they never let go. One final night, I stared into the mirror. The reflection shimmered. The figure from the photograph stepped through. Its eyes were hollow, but pleading. "Stay with us," it whispered. I felt cold fingers wrap around my wrist. Not solid, but too strong to resist. I reached out. My fingers curled, and I let go. The moment I let go, everything changed. The world around me dissolved into shadows and whispers. I was no longer standing in my room. I was trapped. Inside the photograph, frozen forever beside Thomas and Edward. Their smiles turned hollow, their eyes empty. I could feel the cold grip of unseen hands around my wrists pulling me deeper. I wasn't alone. The other lost souls, the ones who had vanished before me, were there too. Silent, waiting, trapped behind glass. Every day the same. Every moment a still frame in an endless haunted memory. Outside, time moved on. But for us, time stopped. Our reflections, our prison. Back in the real world, my disappearance was a mystery. The photograph remains. A silent warning, a dark secret waiting to be seen. So if you ever find a photo that seems too perfect, if you notice hands that don't quite belong, or eyes that watch you back. Remember this story. Some friendships don't end. Some bonds never break. And some photos are doors to places you don't want to enter. Because once you look too long, they won't let you go. Some photographs capture moments in time. Others capture souls. Tonight's story isn't just about two friends. It's about a bond so strong it defies death itself. A connection that traps, consumes, and never lets go. If you've ever found yourself unable to look away from something haunting, if you've ever felt the chill of a gaze not your own in a reflection, remember this: some friendships are forever. Some memories never fade. And some secrets are best left forgotten. Thank you for watching Forgotten Remains, where the past never truly dies and the shadows always watch. If this story sent shivers down your spine, make sure to like, subscribe, and share. Because in the dark, you're never truly alone.